Howdy there, folks. It is Geist with another Destiny 2 video, and this week we're going to be covering the most recent TWAB that just went out about maybe 30 minutes ago. This is going to be the weapon changes coming for Season 15. Not a very big TWAB, but some pretty cool stuff in here and some pretty major changes coming, so without further ado, let's jump right into it. So first and foremost, they're going to be adding legendary stasis weapons in Season 15. So these weapons, the power weapons will be, of course, in the power slot, but the rest will actually all be in the kinetic slot, as they don't want them overcrowding with the energy. They say that they don't intrinsically do anything different from weapons of other damage types, but then they say that stasis perks with slowing or freezing effects have to kill to trigger. Because they don't want it to be too obnoxious in PvP. I don't think we need more freezes. In fact, I think we need less freezes. And, Cryosthesia, thankfully, didn't ship broken. It wasn't overly obnoxious to play against. So I guess if they are going to have freezing perks on legendary weapons, then hopefully they won't be too obnoxious, as they said. I guess we'll see, although I'm a little bit skeptical about anything stasis, all things considered. Quick note on this here, I'm not going to read all that. All you really need to know is that they fixed the quick swap glitch. So no longer are you going to be able to do the little button combo that lets you quickly pull out your aggressive frame shoddy and pretend like it has quick draw on it. Alright, this right here, this is the biggest thing in this whole TWAB. All primary ammo weapons will now have infinite ammo. I, as a bowman, am just absolutely over the top about this. This is great. I could just fire arrows all day long and never have to worry about reload, really, because I'm just constantly loading arrows. It's going to be great. Some perks like drop mag, compact arrow shaft, they've had their functionality changed, obviously, since we've now got infinite primary ammo. And the same goes for Fighting Lion and Sweet Business, which is detailed in some of these next few slides here. Next, breech-loaded grenade launchers have had their blast radius reduced by 0.4 meters and their splash damage reduced by 20. This is intended to make them a little bit less obnoxious in PvP when you've got people constantly spamming at them to try to get some cleanups. So that's going to be a welcome change. Definitely noticed a spike in grenade launcher usage since we've seen the shotguns get nerfed. Next, machine guns have had their damage buffed in PvE by 20%, and scout rifles and hand cannons have had their damage versus miners increased by 15%. Both welcome changes. They both felt very lacking in PvE, and it's going to feel a lot better to use those weapons. And now, for the fusion rifle rework. For high impact fusions, they have had their charge time increased, their shots per burst reduced, and the total damage per burst reduced. Adaptives are relatively unchanged, very slightly increased total damage per burst. The rest is unchanged. Rapid fires will charge faster, so their charge time is decreased and their shots per burst has been increased. Also, backup plan and liquid coil have been adjusted. It states here that they really don't affect the flat charge time anymore. They've just had like a scaler added to them. But it says that their effects are mostly the same here. So really those perks are going to act exactly the same. They gave us changes there and said that they would feel more robust but still feel the same. I'm thinking we're really not going to notice the difference. The big change here is going to be our fusion rifles. I just kind of quickly glossed through all of the changes to them, but a more simplified version of that is going to be that our high impact fusion rifles are going to be killing at a further range again, but they're going to have a much longer charge time, or at least they say much longer. About a 1 second charge time. People that are good at pre-firing are going to start mapping you again, so I'm not really looking forward to that. Adaptive frames are still going to stay exactly the same, and the rapid fire frames are, at least from the description they just gave us, their intended use is to sort of be a counter to shotgun rushers. Quickly pull out the rapid fire fusion and then just kind of blast. They won't have a lot of range, but they're going to charge really quickly. All I'm seeing in my head is we're going to have two different things here. Number one, we're going to have fusion rifles mapping people again at ridiculous distances. And number two, we're going to have another archetype now that's going to charge incredibly fast so people can just rush around and use them. Not much different from a shotgun, so well, I guess I should say that they are a little bit better than a shotgun, though, because they're going to be more reliable, because you're not going to just have a random spread of pellets, so you're just going to have a more reliable version of a shotgun, really. So we're kind of going to be looking at a very similar meta once again, where we've got people just running around aping, but they're going to be using a rapid frame fusion instead of a shotgun, while also having other fusions that are capable of mapping again. It almost seems like we've got two old metas coming back at the same time. And one of them I wouldn't really call an old meta, because aping has always and seems to continue to be alive no matter what. I can't say I'm exactly excited about these, which is why I've had the most to say about this change here. Not looking forward to it. I guess we'll just kind of see how that one plays out. The next big change here is going to be a couple of our exotics. For Anarchy, they're reducing the total reserve magazine from 26 to 16, which I kind of knew that was coming. It always felt like it had way too much ammo available. And they're also reducing the damage by 30% versus bosses. Champions are not bosses. In general, Anarchy is still going to feel pretty strong. It's not going to do quite as much damage to bosses now. But in my opinion, it's still going to be the go-to boss DPSing method, because you can throw Anarchy on there and swap to something else and do damage. So it's still going to be good. And that's good, because I think a lot of people like Anarchy. But with the changes to machine guns and some other stuff with that, maybe it won't feel like the only pick now. And for the people who can't raid, they won't feel like they're missing out quite as bad. Xenophage has had its RPM reduced from 120 to 90, and it is not receiving as much of a buff from the PvE buff to machine guns. They're saying here that the end result of this is it's going to have just a little bit less overall DPS, but it's going to have a higher burst, because they are increasing the damage per shot on it. So it's going to feel even more like a sniper LMG now, and it will have technically a better sustained damage, just because it's not going to be firing as fast, so it's going to take a lot longer to empty it. So maybe for some longer damage phases, it'll still feel maybe relatively the same, but you won't have to reload quite halfway through it, or whatever the case may be. You might actually be able to continue just shooting with Xenophage, say on when you're shooting Taniks at the end of Deepstone or something like that. And then whenever you're sniping oracles with it, like some people like to do, it already one-shot them, but it's definitely going to one-shot them now, and it's going to be good burst damage over wall. So that should be interesting to see how that plays out. I'm glad it didn't really get nerfed into the ground too bad. And also, it is kind of good that they're sort of not letting it benefit too much from that machine gun buff, because Xeno was already incredibly powerful in a lot of PvE content. So this should give a lot of our other LMGs more chance to shine. Fighting Lion is specifically getting tuned here since we now have infinite ammo, and for those wondering, yes, Fighting Lion will also have infinite ammo now. But they are changing it so that it's going to get the same changes as the other breach grenade launchers, so it's going to get the nerfs just like they are, but they're reducing its reload stat to 0, which means that it's going to reload very, very slowly. They are increasing the reload speed to the previous level when damaging multiple enemies, but basically the point of it now is that it's going to be kind of a niche weapon. You're never going to want to reload it. You're supposed to let it take advantage of its auto-loading perk, so you're going to fire it, stow it, and then use something else, and that's kind of the point of it, and then periodically just kind of swap back to it and then use it. In theory, it sounds like this would be balanced out, but I still think the idea of somebody having just effectively still just, okay, well, you know what, every couple seconds I can just fart out a Fighting Lion shot. That seems a little bit overpowered to me. Grenade launchers are already pretty obnoxious in PvP, so having somebody being able to just constantly, just every couple seconds, just boom, grenade launcher, swap back and start shooting, boom. It's almost like having a 2-second cooldown on a kind of weak grenade. Grenade's still a grenade, so I think that's still going to be annoying. They said they'll keep an eye on it, so I guess we'll just see what happens with that one.
So Vex Mythoclast is getting a big buff, 40% damage bonus increased in PvE, The range stat is increased to be near best in class for high impact auto rifles. Increase the stability stat. Rework the catalyst to grant stability and damage after a kill. Increased rate of fire from 360 to 390. Reduce linear fusion rifle mode charge time from 820 to 533, and no longer loses overcharged stacks on stow except when in linear fusion mode. They said that they wanted to make it a little bit more viable since more people have it now. Haha, that's funny, Bungie. I still haven't gotten it. Nobody in my clan has, but maybe they will at some point. Next, they're doing a buff to Merciless. They've updated the perk to account for fewer shots per burst. Should build up charge rate at the same speed. But they're also reducing the damage penalty for increasing the charge rate by 40%, which is a buff that they said that they were kind of giving it that they were thinking of. Jotun, no change there. It says there's a little bit of a change, but it also says there's not a change. Bastion, they're reducing its damage by 15%. Will not quite kill a Guardian with one shot in the 3-shot burst, so you'll have to hit Guardians with 2 bursts. Increase the spread angle by 10%. Increasing PvE damage by 25%, so that's good. That means that it's going to have a little more viability in PvE now, and thank goodness for the PvP nerf there. Sweet Business's perk is changing so that now it will refill the magazine when picking up special and heavy ammo bricks. This is, of course, to change the fact that we will no longer have primary bricks. Let's see. And next here, in the more distant future, they are planning a few more Season 15 tweaks, but they kind of want to see how things are before they roll them out. In the more distant future, but still before Witch Queen, linear fusion rifles and caster frame swords are going to get a little bit of some tweaks. And they're also going to be buffing some underused exotics, Arbalest, Suros Regime, Cryosthesia, and Malfeasance, which you guys know I'm excited about because I love me some Malfeasance. And something about spamming high rate of fire semiotic weapons is going to change. Next season, we are getting a new rocket launcher, so in just a few days. It's going to have burning light on it. There's also going to be some new weapons dropping from playlists. Those are the 3 right there. The Scout Rifle looks kind of familiar. I think it's the Dead Orbit one. And also, Trials of the 9 weapons will be dropping from the Prophecy Dungeon, and they're adding a few weapons back into the loot pool, which is pretty cool. I'm excited about seeing Black Scorpion there, although I would like more 260 RPM Scouts. I kind of wanted a kinetic one. We still don't have one, but I guess that's fine. We'll take an arc one. But anyways, folks, that's it for the TWAB. Just to summarize, definitely some good changes, although I will say I'm a bit disappointed that they haven't touched hand cannons much. I think they said they were going to because they were too good, as they've mentioned multiple times, but no changes there. I think we're still going to stay in our hand cannon meta. The other big thing that's missing here is no change to the special ammo economy. Seems that's going to be the same. We're still going to have a bunch of people just exclusively running their specials in PvP. Maybe that'll change at some point. I sure hope it does. They'd mentioned that they were going to do something with that, and I think we would all like to focus a little more on that satisfying primary gunplay. But that's it for this TWAB. Super excited about the season coming up next week. Expect a lot of content to be dropping, guys. But anyways, folks, thanks for watching. I hope you have a wonderful evening.